Now, don't get me wrong, Shazam was good, but for being one of my favourite comic book characters of all time, I just love the mythos, I love the arcs he has, and the internal struggles he has himself. For me, loving all that, the film just wasn't great. And I think I hate that more. The fact that this film could have been incredible and it was just good. More than if it had been just shit. Because I feel I can rewatch this film, but I feel every time I rewatch it, I'll just think, man, it could have just been better. In terms of negatives, I can't really think of many. Apart from the third act, I think the story building throughout the film was really, really strong. I think the way they started off, this is spoilers by the way, the film's been out for a long time, I just haven't had time to review it, yeah. So I've only seen it once, but I'm going to see it again, and probably again. The film started off really strongly with basically a villain backstory, which is different, you don't really see that a lot, but that way you actually understood the villain as well. I see what they did there, it made sense. I'm glad they didn't bring Black Adam into this film as well. At the same time, it would have been cool seeing The Rock. He was in a pseudo animated scene where he was like fireflies, but it was The Rock as Black Adam, but they never said it was Black Adam, it just looked like The Rock. So hopefully there'll be a Shazam 2 or a Black Adam film standalone, because the film made enough money. It cost about 100 million to make, it's made about 350, so if it can get closer to 400, I would say it's nailed on to get a sequel. They'll push forward with it and not reduce the budget at all, because it is a low budget for a comic book film. You could see it in some ways, how low the budget was, but then you sort of accepted it. Like, the flying scenes were pretty good. They were equally as good as the Man of Steel flying scenes overall, so that's just because technology has improved so much. The fight scenes between him and Savannah were really, really cool, especially the first couple. They were just fun, and it's really cool seeing a superhero on screen, one who's a kid, so it shows kids like, oh shit, that can actually happen. Well, it can't, but I mean, you know, it's possible. No, it can't. It's a fantasy world, but no, I don't know where I was going with that, really. In this film, they had a great cast of kids. I thought most of them were really, really good. Apart from in the third act, which I'll get to. This is all over the place. Like, I don't know what type of review this is. The film really built out on the Shazam mythos, which was super, super cool. I'm glad they actually went super nerdy with it, basically. Super geeky. And I think most comic book fans will love this film. I think it's a feel-good film. It's a family film, more than any other DC film, as far as I can tell. But there were some dark scenes here as well. There was, for a moment, me thinking, wait, is this really a 12A or like a PG-13 or PG even? Because most of the film was pretty childish and friendly. But a couple of scenes with the demons, I mean, it was mad. They're biting off heads. I looked across and I was like, is this a 12, man? Really? Really? Are they really pushing this 12A to this extent? The main kids were great. They had a really good rapport with each other, and on screen you could see the chemistry was there. And even when Zach Levi came on with the younger kid, it felt like there was a real bond there between the two of them. And just to say, Zach Levi, you killed it in this role. You did as good as you could do playing a kid, because you basically are a giant toddler. A jacked giant toddler, and it's incredible. The family unit was really good. I enjoyed that part of the film especially. I think that you don't really get to see that type of stuff in superhero films or action films at all, really. So it was a cool little side arc for Billy to go through. I think people don't respect Billy Batson enough as a character. I think he's one of the best characters in comic book history. Maybe I'll explain that one time or another in the future, but he's so well-rounded, in my opinion. People will say I'm wrong. You're wrong. I'm right. But they might say I'm wrong. Mark Strong was good. He actually got a decent outing this time, as opposed to the Sinestro scenario. So DC we'll recast him, we'll give him another shot at this, and he did a much better job, and the film was much better overall. So he's gonna be in a sequel, I guess, or potentially future down the road, and it's really, really positive. The fact that I think DC and Warner Brothers are going down this route with the film universe now, as opposed to the serious route. You could see it in Wonder Woman. It was serious, but there was lightness to it in a way. It was still dark. Aquaman was very light, and this was even lighter than that. So the tonal shift is coming through DC. It's still keeping with what the characters are, but it's giving you a different flavor in it as well, which is only a good thing because variety is the spice, as we all know. Yeah, so I think I'm very intrigued as to see what they do next with the DCEU and how they portray the characters, because the Flash is apparently going to be recast, Batman's going to be recast, Superman is probably going to be recast, maybe not. Cyborg is probably going to be recast. They might keep him because he was so ancillary in the Justice League film, so they might keep him just because he was barely in it. But going forward with Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Shazam as your main three, maybe if you stick a Superman or a Batman in there as well, it could work. But I think maybe to some extent they're sort of disassociating the universes in a way while keeping them slightly connected. In this one, it felt like it was a Netflix type show. You know, in the Netflix Marvel TV shows, how in Daredevil and Jessica Jones, they might reference the MCU in a way. And they'll say, oh, the big guys and the green guy, the Hulk or Captain America. They might say stuff like that, or Iron Man's not going to come save us. In this, they sort of had a similar thing with, oh, this is a Batarang, or this is a bullet that was shot at Superman, or he has an Aquaman t-shirt on half the time, one of the kids. So it was those types of nods which made it feel more like... It made it feel more like a Marvel Netflix show than a film in the MCU, if you had to do direct comparisons, just because of the links they had. But then right at the end of the film, they basically had a little cameo there, even though I don't think it was Henry Cavill because he didn't want to come back. At the end of the film, the end credit scene was basically Shazam going to lunch with the kids, and he brought Superman along, basically. Pretty bonkers, pretty ridiculous, but you never saw Superman's face. So, you know, it probably wasn't Henry Cavill because he didn't want to come back, apparently. Maybe he wasn't getting paid enough. I don't know the inner workings of Warner Brothers and DC, but it was something to do with that, I guess. He didn't want to contract. I don't know, right? Money. I liked most of the film, apart from the third act. The third act is where they introduced the Shazam family. Now, I'm all cool with the Shazam family. I just think that for Shazam's first film, it should have been a solo film. And this, in a way, turned into a team-up film from the get-go. So now, in the DCEU, there is 5 Shazams, or 6 Shazams now. I know they only have 1 power of each and that type of stuff, but I feel like for his first solo film, they should have given him his own time, and instead they deviated that to everyone. They could have had a really cool fight scene at the end, and it was still fun, what they did with it, with all of them fighting their individual demons. I mean, it's a very, very meta thing, isn't it? But I just feel like you did a disservice to the character to set up for the long term by introducing the Shazam family, because it could have been a great thing in like 2 films' time for Shazam to figure out what the wizard was saying. It could have been very special, and it felt very rushed. That's all I'm saying. I think it could have been a really, really great film, and certain things just didn't work for me, specifically in the third act. But still fun, still enjoyable, rewatchable. Yeah, that's about it. This is all over the place. I don't know what I've said in this video, but it is what it is. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel down there. If you didn't, then Shazam himself is gonna come after you. You don't want that in your video, so just subscribe anyway to avoid that. Now, I've been NarendraTheComic. You have been great, and I'll see you next time. Skadoosh.